Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back. It has been a long time. I haven't made a video in years. It's been so long that I bought like a bunch of equipment when I was gonna start doing this again. And it's just kind of just been sitting around waiting for me to make these videos. I had like an arm for my camera. It's just kind of been a holder for things I don't want on my desk for about a year and a half. All right, so for this video, we're gonna be talking about brushes. I've been getting heaps of questions about what brushes should I start out using or what brushes do I use? This is a question I know gets thrown around inside of the community all the time. If you're trying to get into the digital arts, this is definitely one of kind of the first things that I remember you're looking at your favorite artists and you can kind of see, okay, I kind of get what brushes they're using. So then you go online and you buy a shitload of shit and then you import your brushes, you try to use them and then they're just not how you thought they would work. And I remember when I was starting out with brushes, you would go and you'd ask, oh, what brushes do you use? What brushes should I use? And the answer always kind of comes back around to being like, the brushes don't matter. It's just kind of like your skill and the brush, you know? It's always like, well,
Don't say that because that irritates me.
So this is gonna be your comprehensive guide. When's the right time to use what brush? What brushes do I personally use? Maybe inspiring you to go into that library that you haven't looked at or a simple brush that you may have been neglecting and then making that work as kind of like your magic thing, your magic pen. Whoa, real brush. I'm gonna basically run you through an illustration I'm working on for Invincible, not for Invincible, no one's paying me, but they could if they wanted to. So I don't think there's anything more to say. No more yapping. I'm gonna take you to my iPad and we're gonna do it. All right, welcome everyone. So this is my Invincible illustration I'm working on, kind of going for a poster design. I'm gonna turn all the base colors off so you can just see the sketch. Here's my base sketch. I will just quickly run you through my main brush set that I use. First brush I have, this is kind of my favorite brush. This is its stamp. And what it has is this really cool crayon texture to it, which I actually don't really like, but what I really like is how it transitions when you start to apply more pressure, and it's super sensitive. It really functionally is just a round brush that's been squished, which kind of lets me create these rectangles. It also lets me do a lot of soft shapes as well. And the reason I love this brush so much is for line art, or for my sketch, because I don't really do line art. I can have some really crisp, sharp lines. It's got a really low streamlining. So if you've got a brush, let's look at one of Procreate's, maybe ink. Oh no, that's pretty good actually, I might use that. A brush with like a really high streamlining. It's harder to have it kind of react quickly. With my liner, I like to have it feel like I'm holding a pencil and it's super sensitive. And it also blends so lovely with itself. So if I put down like this nice rich red and super nicely, and it really doesn't take that much to get it to 100% opacity, but still just enough control. So if you have a round brush potentially, maybe squishing that stamp, this oval here really does wonders for me. Another thing I love about this is it's got a very organic edge to it. I would try and fill in my base colors really mechanically. Some people are so good at this. Well, they'll have like a brush that's really flat, it's got a really sharp edge, and they're so precise. And that, I could just never quite get the hang of that. What I could get the hang of is sort of messiness, and then I would bring that to kind of the forefront of my style. What happens when I really want to start playing around and I want to create some effects that I just know that my brushes can't really get the hang of? Let's say I've gone online, I've bought some new brushes, and I want to create an illustration that is super painterly, which is like this, where the rendering is so soft, it kind of looks like watercolor, but not exactly. There's lots of gradients and stuff. It looks so effortless, but it's amazing. I've been eating that up at the moment. I'm gonna kind of leave the opacity for the feet. I really would like for sort of the white from the ground to reflect up against her legs. Something I definitely try and avoid is switching between my brushes too many times. And sometimes you're kind of looking at one of your favorite artists and you're like, gosh, I feel like I can almost see them using like 15 different brushes here. They're kind of using 3 or 4 for the main portion of the illustration and then hitting it with some different brushes. My second brush is this one here, Sample Brush 312. So take a look at the stamp. The stamp kind of has a big shape and then these two smaller shapes on it. And it's got such a nice, oh, look at that. I was talking about the texture of the last brush I had. I didn't like it. This one, it's the complete opposite. This is how I apply like kind of that thick oil paint look to my drawings. And my favorite, absolute favorite thing are these two shapes in the stamp. Almost create like this effect where your brush hair, you know when you have a stray brush hair and it kind of adds extra paint where it shouldn't be? I absolutely love that about this brush. So this is kind of my go-to painting brush, especially when I'm filling in large areas. I remember for a long time I would download so many brushes that would have like oil paint textures and this and that, and they would all individually have their own kind of mixing properties. They would kind of layer on top of each other and become so muddy, and I would lose all control of like the color and everything. And it was so frustrating until I found this brush. Because I bought it from another artist, I can't share it with you guys, but definitely go and buy this brush pack because it really helped me out. I'm gonna bring the select tool in. Also, this brush is great for shading hair because of the loose little like strands you get. Kind of helps render it for you. I'm gonna play around with it though. So not every mark that you make has to be the perfect mark. As Invincible has shown us, not every mark is a good mark. Now I do really want a lot of my rendering to feel quite segmented. I don't want to blend it too much because I do kind of want it to feel like someone haphazardly just went with the illustration, even though I'm kind of being a little bit more picky. Shadow in between those knuckles. You might hit that with like a punch of red on a screen layer later. Another brush I've got is this round brush, but it's got kind of this, I'm gonna call this pocket lint. It looks like pocket lint. It's like a round brush, but it's got this fuzzy texture to it. When I'm creating gradients, I love this because it still adds a bit of texture. So let's say I wanted to create blue gradient. So I got my shape here and it really has this super subtle texture. And if you can see the thing here, you can see the little shapes. It looks so nice. And then you combine this with a good old-fashioned like splattering brush and it just creates such a nice gradient. Love this effect. Yeah. I kind of want to create this hatching effect as the shadow moves back towards Mark, but I feel like when I'm not applying a lot of pressure with this brush, it kind of has this ugly crayon look. I want something just a little sharper. So I do have this other brush, which is kind of like a big brick, but it could look quite nice as it moves back. But it's not too different from the rest of the brushes that if you zoom out, it's like, oh, okay, he's used a different brush for that. Next brush, okay. This is another round brush with another texture on it. One thing about this brush is it's got a bit of a hue shift on it. So I know my artists who love a good hue shift. Shout out to them, they're always rendering gods. They embrace the mess. I love those people. They were probably spaghetti kids growing up. But this brush has I'm proud of that joke. This brush has like a hue shift, so it shifts between the hues. And then it's almost kind of got, like, yeah, it's got a really grainy, lovely texture to it, which is created by this stamp here. I use this a lot for, again, underpaintings. I use it for large sections of color where I think it could do with a little bit of visual interest without being too distracting. The good thing about this is the hue shift is tied to the pressure of the brush. So I can manipulate how much I want the hue to shift by how heavy I press the brush. So I'll kind of give you a thicker demonstration. And like this, and then I press a bit harder. Ta-da! How good's that? Yeah, this is also great for a lot of organic materials, environments, fur, especially fur. So here I want a bit of a softer shadow, and I don't actually have a brush that's really great for blending. So I'm actually going to use my softer textured airbrush and kind of just hit it. It still has that paint-like texture, but it's not as heavy-handed as if I was doing some shadows similar to this. Just using the select tool to just keep it, keep the rein it in a bit so it doesn't run away. Come back. I'm thinking sharper shapes with the shadows closer to the center, and then soften it out as you draw away. If you're getting into digital art, I would say sticking to your kind of handful of brushes, such as this one, where you feel comfortable, like you can pretty much get a grasp of any sort of technique you want to do, is super helpful. It means that you can really focus on just nailing your fundamentals, and you're not too stressed about kind of creating a particular texture. I love the mantra of let it exist first, make it look perfect later.